What does better head control mean? And how do our brains organize our whole bodies to hold our heads upright? It's not just about having stronger neck muscles. It's actually about having a connection between the pelvis, the spine, and the head. So how well do our brains coordinate the pelvis, the spine, and the head? That's what's going to give us better head control. It's also what's going to help us roll over. It's also what's going to help us come into sitting. When we're in sitting, our brains need to know how to hold our heads upright under the force of gravity through our spine and our pelvis. Muscles and our heads don't operate all by itself. We're a system. We're an organism, a holistic organism, and it's our brain that's controlling and organizing all of these really super complex, tiny movements to hold ourselves upright. So if we don't know that our pelvis can move in 3 dimensions, if we don't know that our pelvis, I like to think of the pelvis like a ball that can roll around in 3 dimensions. Now, often our kids' pelvises kind of get stuck because of their condition. So because of a brain injury, because of a sensory disorder. My own daughter has a rare genetic disorder, and she had reflux, she had a lot of back arching, she kind of got stuck. Her pelvis got stuck, and her brain didn't know that her pelvis could move in 3 dimensions. So her brain was simply missing the information it needed to coordinate her pelvis in 3 dimensions. It didn't know. And so, of course, it didn't know that the pelvis is connected to the spine, which is connected to the head. So once I slowed myself down and slowed down the movements that I was exploring with my daughter, that's when we started seeing results of better head control, better balance, better coordination. And it kind of snowballs. So I want you to think of not just stronger neck muscles for better head control, but think of the entire child, the entire being. Our brains are meant to organize our whole bodies to make it easier for us to move. And you can imagine if your pelvis was stuck, so I'm actually going to show you, if your pelvis was stuck in a rolled back position, which is very common for our kids, it is really hard. I can kind of look up and I can kind of look down, but if I have freedom of movement in my pelvis that I can roll my pelvis up, all of a sudden I can look way up even easier. You can see how much more graceful it looks. And if my pelvis can roll down, I can look down further. So this coordination of the rolling of the pelvis, that the force traveling up my spine, and having my head being able to be coordinated all together allows us freedom of movement. It allows me to be able to sit with more freedom. I have more options in my sitting. I'm not just, if I was sitting like this, I'd have very limited options in how I could move and play and reach things. But once my pelvis can be able to move, all of a sudden I can reach further, I can reach higher, I can balance myself easier if something, knocks me off balance. I've got so many more options because my brain knows how to coordinate my pelvis, my spine, and my head. Okay, so now that we know that how important it is to have for our brains to know how to move our pelvis, our spine, and our head all together, all coordinated, you as parents can just do these super simple movements in your everyday life to start building in on that experience of your pelvis is connected to the spine, connected to the head. It doesn't have to be complex. You can literally do this in minutes in a day. One is inside the mindful movement program. So you can grab the 3 everyday, The 3 everyday movements to better head control is its own little $14 video set. So you can just grab that. I'll put that in the link by itself, but it's also a part of, if you're inside the mindful movement program, it's inside there as well. And also inside there is like hundreds of different videos to show you how to use these tiny, tiny little movements, gentle, respectful movements, to give your child the information Their brains just might be missing to complete the fuller picture of holding the head up, of coming into sitting on their own, of being able to coordinate that pelvis, that spine, that head all together. Okay, so when we're looking at movement as being brain-based, it's brain-based. We're looking at connecting them to themselves and giving their brain the experience that they just simply might be missing. So backtracking, there's some super simple movements that you as parents can try at home, and it's inside that 3 everyday movements to better head control. You guys can try that. But one of the movements is the snuggle position. I just wanted to show you guys how easy it can be. So if you ever find yourself in this position with your child, let me know if you find yourself in this position with your child. Super simple, easy movement. You've probably been in this position with your child like this. Now, if you notice, I call this the snuggle position. Now, if you notice, my hand is over her pelvis. I can actually cup her pelvis like a little ball. I like to imagine that the pelvis is a little ball that can roll in 3 dimensions, that can move in 3 dimensions. So it's just like me cupping a little ball here that I can roll around in 3 dimensions. And I'm going to go very, very slow, and I'm going to explore. When my child is in the snuggle position in my arms, I'm just going to take the 2 extra seconds that it takes to, maybe I'm moving her to the change table. Maybe I'm moving her to put her in her high chair. Maybe I'm moving her to go get her dressed. Whatever you're doing, pause for 2 seconds. Put your hand underneath their sit bone and explore the movement of their pelvis. So does their pelvis roll a little bit backwards, a little bit forward, a little bit to one side, a little bit to the other side, maybe a little bit in a circle? Make your movements super slow. Make your movements not to actually like move them forcibly in any direction. It's more to get curious. What is the easiest way for them to move? If your child has scoliosis, or maybe they have spasticity on one side, you might find that they move easier to one side than the other side. So we're not going to force to the other side. This is all about curiosity. It's about connecting your child to the movement. So your child's brain, you're grabbing your child's brain, saying, hey, this is an easy movement here. This is an easy movement here. Oh, this one, we can't go quite that far. So maybe we'll try to go forward. Maybe we'll try to go backwards. Maybe we'll try to go back over here. Okay, so I'm thinking of her pelvis like a little ball that can roll around in 3 dimensions. Takes 2 seconds. That's it, 2 seconds. Now I go a little bit more in depth inside those 3 everyday movements to better head control. I explain it a little bit more in depth, so you can go and grab that. But I also want to show you on Sven, on the skeleton, just so you get a nice visual in your head of how easy this can be and how we're connected. How this pelvis, okay, I'm going to straddle, he's going to straddle me like this. I'm going to imagine I'm giving him a little snuggle. He's in the snuggle position. My hand is underneath his pelvis, underneath his sit bones. So he's kind of sitting on my hand. I'm cupping it like a little ball. I'm imagining that it's a little ball that can roll around in 3 dimensions. I'm just getting curious, feeling, does his pelvis go to one side? Does it go to the other side? And then you can visually see, unfortunately, Sven is kind of locked together, so he's not a very good demo, but he's got, the pelvis is here, the pelvis is connected to each spine. So in theory, when I'm rolling his spine in 3 dimensions, each of these little vertebrae has the possibility, has the potential to have a little chain reaction and start moving all the way up the spine into the head. The head is connected through the spine to the pelvis. So when there's a force or a movement down the pelvis, if our brains have all the information and are really well organized, if it's a really well organized brain and system, if there's movement down in the pelvis, there should be a trickle of movement and freedom to adjust and shift and be able to move and flow with the movement all the way up each individual vertebrae right up into the head. And that is what really good head control is. It's actually those micro movements of being able to shift each tiny little vertebrae to the force of what's going on in the system. If the pelvis is moving to have good head control, to keep the head upright when the pelvis is moving, we have to be well organized. Our brains need to know that each little vertebrae can move independently, can shift, can move, can move. So that is what we're trying to do. We are trying to use slow, gentle movements to access your child's brain's ability to discover and organize each individual vertebrae, the pelvis, each individual vertebrae, and the head all together. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Next time you pick your child up in this position, in the snuggle position, place your hand underneath their sit bones here like this and give it a try. Just kind of do a soft, gentle exploration of, oh, does their pelvis roll to the left, to the right, upwards, backwards? You know, just get really curious. Very slow movements. Meet your child where they're at and let me know what happens. What's the reaction of your child? What do you feel? What do you notice? What do they feel? What do they notice? I would love to know. You can let me know down below. So with that said, go give that a try and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.